Hi all, welcome to Angular series. This is part 3 video, and in this video I will explain how to consume a RESTful service using Angular, and I will also show you how to handle exceptions. So exception handling through Angular service I will explain in this video. Okay, so let us start. So in the previous sessions I have videos I have explained how to create an Angular application. So I have already created an Angular application, and which I have mentioned it is a sample. I have a sample component here. Inside this sample component I will write a service. I will invoke a RESTful service. That RESTful service will make a call to API, and that API will give me the response in JSON format. That JSON format data I'll display inside my div element. Okay, so that is the thing I'm going to achieve in this video. Okay, so to do that quickly, I will start. I need to make, if I have to make an HTTP call, I need to have import one necessary module, that is import that is available in Angular common HTTP. So this is the node module. So inside that I will have something called HTTP client module. This particular client module I need to register. So this is the first step I have to do it. So I have registered it. Next step, I need to create a service. So to create a service I will create a folder. So this is the normal practice, coding practice. We should have a service in a separate folder. So I've just separated it, and I'm making this name of the service as configure service.ts. So inside this class I will define RESTful components to make API. Okay, to make a RESTful call, as I mentioned earlier, we will be using HTTP client module. Inside that HTTP client module I need to use HTTP client. Okay, and we will make calls through RxJS. That is the library we are using it, that is inbuilt available in Angular. So via Angular, via RxJS we'll make RESTful calls. So RxJS has several properties. It has several methods, useful methods like map, tap, exception handling, all those things. So we'll see how to utilize, take benefit of RxJS. So all the major benefit of RxJS is it will make calls, it'll make API call, and it will give you the response in a stream. That stream response we will call it as an observable. That observable we will subscribe it. So that means we will use subscriber observable pattern. We are using it here. So that pattern is inbuilt, adopted in Angular. So we'll see how we can utilize RxJS, how we can expose observable from the service, and how we can consume that observable in component through subscribe. Okay, to create that I'm first importing, as I mentioned, first it has available in Angular common HTTP. This is the module path, and I need to have HTTP client. After that I need to expose this particular service as constructor injected. That means I'll be using dependency injected way. In the dependency injection I'll be using constructor injection. So I need to expose this as an constructor injected. To use that I need to use something called injectable, which is again available in Angular core module. I'll use it as injectable. Okay, so whenever you import anything, if you want to see whether you have imported correct one or not, you can just place your mouse icon on that particular item. So it will show you the IntelliSense. If it is correctly imported, then you will see the IntelliSense, and you will also see some of the metadata related to that component. So you can see at HTTP client, and similarly HTTP injectable. Okay, so now I need to inject as an constructor injection. So I'm just writing export class, and I'll name this class as configure service. Okay, inside this configure service I will have a constructor, and that constructor will be of type is having a variable HTTP. I have defined it, and that is of type HTTP client. That's all. I have exposed it. After that I will create a method. That method I will make it as get post. Okay, let us stop here. So the idea of this particular demo is I need to make an API call. To make an API call, I'll be taking advantage of publicly available APIs. That is, one of them is JSON placeholder, which is readily hosted, and I can take use of this particular API, and it is having several methods. So in this demo I'll be using get method. So the get method is post. So if you see the post method, it is exposed as a set of properties. You can see here almost 100 records of data is available. So, and it is also having properties of user ID, title and body. So I will take advantage of this particular publicly hosted API for this demo purpose. So I no need to host any of my API. So I'm just taking of that particular thing and HTTP, and as I mentioned, I'll be using a get method, and it is of type, so this one. Okay, now I need to pass the method. So name of the method I'm using it. So here are several methods. So I am using post method. So for the future purpose, I will declare the method as parameter, and I will declare that as string. That method I will take it here, and I have to define. So to define that, I'll be taking advantage of string interpolation. So that is available in TS TypeScript. So that is, it is also available in HTML6. The same thing available in TS. So I'm taking advantage of string interpolation, and I'm interpolating my variable. That's all. That's all. It's very straightforward. So if you see this particular get method, it is also having several other properties. The one of them is options. Inside the options, if you want to pass authentication information, or if you want to pass response information, or if you want to pass parameters, you can define all those things here. Inside this options, you can have headers, you can have you can also have palms parameters. You can define it here, and you can define the response type, and you can define the credentials. If you want to pass a credentials, if it is a secure API service, you can pass credentials. That credentials you can define through here, and you need to mention here is with credentials true. So since it is, I don't need to have all those things, so I'm not using that. That's all. I have defined it here. Okay, after writing the service, this service I need to register it again in my app module as a provider. Okay, to before do that, I need to import that particular module. So configure service from service, configure service. This configure service I will register as a provider. That's all. After that, I will come back to my sample component. Inside the sample component, I want to uh, import this particular configure service. So I'll just take from here. I have already placed it here, so I will take from here, and I'll paste it. Okay, so done. So now this configure service I need to inject as a constructor. So I will define private config of type configure. So that is the reason I have declared that configure service as injectable. So once I inject it here, config, so I can make my API call via this configure service. So okay, so let me define. So in this case I can do two things. I can make use of the same template I have placed it here, within the same template I can raise HTML. So first I will take utilize of the same template. I will template with uh, property. I will use it, and I will define my uh, uh, response here itself. But later I will separate this part using template URL. That means I will move this to a separate HTML. Inside that HTML I'll move my code. So that the advantage of writing in a separate HTML is I will get IntelliSense. If I write within the same template property within the TS file, I don't get any IntelliSense here. I don't know whether I'm writing correct HTML or I'm writing any errors or anything. I will not come to know. So the best practice or normal real-time scenario, we will write template in a separate HTML file. So we'll follow the same thing afterwards. So first let me create quickly. I will make a call of this, and I will take it off this variable, and I need to define something called data to consume that. Okay, so this dot config dot get post, and I will use a simple subscribe method. So as I mentioned earlier, we are having observable and subscribe, but subscribe I'm not getting it. So I think this, for this I need to import observable from RxJS. Sorry, I have done a mistake. I shouldn't use here. In fact, I no need to have this observable. I have did a mistake, so I shouldn't write inside my constructor. To do that, in normal time, in a normal scenario, we'll be having a click button, or we can have a load. So on load, if I want to load, so I want to take here on load. So for that I'll be using on init. Okay, on init I'm using it, and I will implement this with on init. Okay, and it is showing me I don't have ng on init method. So ng on init I have written here. So here I will make call of that config get post. Okay, so I should get here subscribe, but subscribe I'm not getting it some reason. So let me see why it is not coming up. So let me import from RxJS, and I will use observable. Okay, this is also not working. I think I have some error in my page. Let me see what could be. Okay, here it is showing an error. So to resolve this error, I have two options. Either I can define something like this. So that means I have initialized a value. If I don't want to initialize, I can have another option. I can declare this as nullable. So I will use this particular thing. Let us see now. Subscribe. Okay, so I did a terrible mistake. What is that? Let me go back to the configure service. Here I have not returned anything. So by default it is taking it as void. So I need to define this as observable, and it is of type any. So that is the mistake I did it. So observable I made it. So any is, I can have two options here with this. When I make this API call, this API will give me response. That response will be in terms of streams. So I'll be using as observable, and this observable I will make utilize through RxJS using subscribe. So this is of type observable any I have defined, but I also have to define this is of type any and return. So this should go off. Yeah, this problem has gone. So normally in real-time scenario we don't use any here. Instead we will define a interface. Inside the interface we will declare all the properties, and that interface we will utilize it here. So if I use any, I have to get the values dynamically. I need to find out, because I don't know what is the type of this value, so I will not get it when I type. IntelliSense will not suggest me what are the properties I have it. But this is the simplest way I can make. I can take advantage of any. So this is the simplest way for doing it. But in real time, normally we will have a separate class for interface for each particular property what we are getting from API. So for now I will use any. I have defined this any, and when I come back to the sample component, so I don't think so I have to have this. And now I should see this will returning, yeah, I'm getting a subscribe, and inside this subscribe I have to add this value to this dot data x. I have assigned it. What other error it is giving me? Method, yeah, another mistake I did, that is method I have to pass. That method name, it is post. Okay, this should solve the problem. Okay, that's all. So now we need to display this. So to display that, I will take advantage of using ngFor. So this is another directive available. So in Angular, so we have several other directives, so I'm using ngFor, and I have defined a data, and here I will define a div. Inside the div I will define, inside this I will have some, first I will have a b. This b is having of type title, and I will use a p tag. See, if you observe it here, it is hard time for me to type because I don't see any IntelliSense. So that is the reason we should have a separate template. So item of, so this is the type I have declared item of. This is a variable, and this is an array, any of array, array value, and that array value will come to my item, and that item dot title. So this is the property I'll be exposing it. The same thing I will copy paste here, and I will make, I'll define this as body, and here I will define it as a body. Okay, that's all I have done. Hopefully this should work. We'll just compile and see. Yeah, looks like it is compiled. Let me go back. Yeah, you can see the output, but output is not coming properly. The title is coming up and the other one is coming down, so that is simple thing. I just have to do some adjustment here. So to do that, I will just place it inside my p tag and inside my paragraph tag. So I have placed it here. Now I think it should come little properly. Yeah, it is coming up the way I've expected. Okay, so this is a simple API call, but if you observe it here, I have not done any exception handling. So if there is any exception in between, I will not get any data. So if I want to log the exception, if I want to show the exception message, I need to have an exception handling. To do that, I need to further enhance this particular code. So I will take advantage of RxJS operators. So I have something called operators. Inside this operator, I have two properties, two things are available, properties are available. One is catch error, two methods I can say, catch error, and there is another thing is tap. So there is another thing is also available, flat flat map, but currently this flat map is uh, deprecated in this version. Using the latest version of Angular, so it is deprecated. So instead flat map I need to use a tab. So I'm using a tab. Okay, and also I have to import another property, that is another method I can say. Angular, sorry, this is also available in RxJS, and it is again called it as off. Okay, so we'll see what is how to handle this catch error and tap and off. So this I will further enhance with pipe. Okay, inside the pipe I'll have first tap. So if it is success, if I don't have any errors, if I'm making a call successfully, then my tap will be called, and this tap will give me response. If there is an exception, catch error, if there is an exception, then I want to log this. So as of now I will define as I will write it in the console, error dot message dot error. I will use instance of event source. Then I will write it in console.log dot error dot message. Okay, if else, if it is of not type event source, then I will get console.log dot error dot message. Okay, and then in that case, if it is an error, I will return of empty. I will not display any value. I mean, I don't get any value if there is an exception. So in that case I will pass empty, and this will be displayed as empty. Okay, this is catch errors, and I have defined post and other thing. So now I need to subscribe this catch error. Okay, so we'll see this. I will declare and let request, I'll name it as request. Yeah, so instead of using here, I will directly declare something like this, subscribe. Okay, and I will define data. Okay, and inside this dot data I will assign it to data. So I've subscribed. So this is the way I have handled the exception. If there is an exception, the exception will be logged, and the exception message will be you can write your custom logic here. You can log it wherever you want. You can log it to log file, or you can log it to console, or wherever you can log that, and you can return the empty. If it is successful, this will tap will give you the proper value, and that will be captured here in the subscribe, and you should see the same message, same output as before. Yeah, so it is working as expected. I don't see any errors. I think it is hitting my breakpoint. Since I have a breakpoint here, I'll just take it off. Okay, so you can see this. So this is the way you can do exception handling, and also you can make API calls. The next we'll also see some of the post, and in the coming sessions, instead of writing this way, in the next video I will show how we can use PrimeNG, some ready-madely available components in Angular, some third-party components, third-party controls. We'll use it, and PrimeNG is one of the third-party component and which is freely available, so we can take, and also we can use Angular material, and we can also use some other. So we'll see how we can use PrimeNG and so on. Thanks. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and like it. Thank you.